Sure is quiet in here. Give us a moment before we start, please. Good evening.
Good evening.
I'd like to adjourn the Board of Education closed session at 6:55 and reconvene the regular Board of Education open session at 7:05. And I also like to welcome the wonderful group from Clifton Middle School to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Hello, Mrs. Jackson.
Good evening, Board of Education, District Administration, and community. It is an honor and privilege to serve as principal of Clifton Middle School, and I am joined tonight with two amazing students who are going to lead you in the pledge and then also share some highlights of some spectacular things happening on our school campus. So, would you please join me at the podium here, Sophia Adkins and Savannah Almiron.
Please stand. Put your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may now be seated. Currently at Clifton, we have two spectacular clubs that we like, and they're personally one of our favorite clubs, and we are both involved with them outside of Renaissance Leadership. And the first one is the newspaper club, also known as the Clifton Chronicles. And Sophia is going to be talking about Kindness Club, so last year at Clifton, we started a school newspaper titled the Clifton Chronicles, led by our amazing Spanish teacher, Miss Bravo. Students are either assigned or allowed to pitch ideas and new and upcoming ideas to write as an article. Any students are allowed to join the club, and it's free for all students, all of our clubs, to read it and enjoy. This club meets every Friday during lunch, and they release a new newspaper every 2 months. Within the newspaper themselves, as you guys have, we have many interviews with teachers, surveys about students' likings. They add in sports schedules, plus their wins and losses, as well as articles themselves and book and movie reviews. Also inside, we have our school calendar with all the upcoming events, plus much more. And you guys have the latest copy of the Clifton Chronicles, and enjoy. Okay, so another club at Clifton is the Kindness Club, led by one of our history teachers, Miss Porter. And we meet every Mondays at lunch, and our main goal is to basically get kids more involved. And so one thing we do is it's called Kindness Cash. So basically, any student, or if any member from the club sees somebody that's being nice or helpful, they give them a kindness cash, and they come in on one of the meeting days, and they get a prize. And then we also have staff and special ed luncheons. So
We usually do a luncheon for the staff at the beginning of the year for like new staff members, just to, like welcome them to the school. And we also have special ed parties just because like we want to get them more involved in the school too. And one of like our major things we do for the Kindness Club is we go to 11 Oaks, which is a retirement home in Monrovia, and we spend like about 45 minutes with them just talking to them and getting to know them because a lot of people like overlook them in the community. So that's one of the things we do at Clifton too.
And then also with the kindness cash, you also get your name put on the marquee in front of the school, and then you also get a shout out on all of our social media. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Anybody else? Outstanding, Cub Nation. Very articulate. Look out, guys. We have a roll call which consists of all who are here, except Mr. Charles, who is absent this evening. With regards to the report on the closed session, we entertained some expulsion, which we will acknowledge later. The board agenda discussion presentation items, which could include input from the representatives, and matters may be moved on the agenda. Dr. Terosian, please acknowledge.
Thank you, President Williams. Members of the board, we'd like to pull action item 6 regarding the fence at Brad Oaks. We're exploring one additional option which we think will provide students with a learning area, an outdoor learning area that I think will better meet our needs. And we'd like to bring this back following that investigation. We'd also like to pull action item 14, our uniform complaint procedures. We'd like to take one more look at revising them before bringing them back for first reading.
Thank you. Received. I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the Board of Education meeting from October 24th.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Huff?
Board Member Rich,
Yes.
Board Member Wong,
Abstain.
Board Member Hammond,
Yes.
Board Member Gilliland,
Abstain.
Board President Williams.
Yes.
Motion carries 3-0.
Thank you, Ms. Huff. Recognitions and communications. Dr. Terosian, will you lead us in this area?
I am delighted, President Williams, members of the board, and audience. Ms. Nichols, would you please invite your extraordinary teacher, Ms. Giroux, and your mathletes up so that we can learn a little bit more about their accomplishments over the last 2 weeks. Brad Oaks Elementary School students found a competition and demonstrated their mathletic prowess.
Good evening. I am so excited. I'm so proud of our mathletes. I'm going to let Mrs. Giroux tell the story of how this all evolved and came to be, but I just want to acknowledge and say publicly how proud I am of this group. They pulled together so quickly, and I'm going to turn this over to Mrs. Giroux to explain and tell the story. Oh, I believe Devin's going to help too, right? Okay.
Hello, thank you and good evening. Thank you for inviting us here. And I am a fifth grade teacher at Brad Oaks. And this past year, thanks to bringing the Coatson Foundation to Monrovia, and they've introduced us to some new things that teachers are embracing. And one of those things is called Cognitively Guided Instruction for Mathematics, CGI. And I am experimenting with that and bringing that into my classroom. And I'm so fortunate that I have these amazing students in my room who are really great examples of what it is to be enthusiastic about learning, passionate, driven, and motivated. And whatever challenges I throw their way, they're always willing to try them out. And so for these first few months of school, we've been learning in this way. And one of my parents, Leah, she found this flyer for a mathnasium, a math competition. And she said, like, let's join. And so I said, okay, let's get a team together. And so these 4 students volunteered to be on the team. And they went on a Sunday and participated with about 100 students. There were 8 fifth grade teams with 4 on each team. And these were students from all over Arcadia, Temple City, and a lot of local cities came together to do this number tournament. And there were 3rd through 8th graders participating. And it was held on October 28th. And, you know, it's just a few months we've been learning this new way of thinking deeply about mathematics. And so I said, well, just go and do the best you can. And sure enough, they ended up placing 3rd place, so I was very, very proud of them for taking what they're learning and putting it into action right away and making Monrovia proud. So we actually look forward to maybe future competitions like this when we have even more practice under our belt of these new ways of looking at math. And Devin is going to speak on behalf of the team.
We competed in this number tournament and it was really fun. And CGI is an amazing new way of math because it helps us interact with the learning through. We did this one type of math where we were counting beans and we had to do different ways to count them, and we were trying to get it the most on point that we could, and that was part of CGI, and it really gives us hands-on activities that we can use, and there's different games through math that we can learn through, and it helps to make the learning fun so that we're not just as getting a math book and doing different problems using the basic algorithm. We go out of our way to use solutions to solve the problems and the challenges in the math.
So with that, I have gifts. I have certificates for you all. And as I call your name, come on forward, and we're going to stand right in the middle. Okay? We're going to take a picture. All right. Samira Chen. Ellie Aguia. Devin Torres. Trevor Stonick. And Mr. O.
Go ahead, yeah. Good seeing you. Great job. Next, we'll have the Board of Education like to recognize this wonderful individual in the likes of Mr. John Carlson. That's right. He's also my prayer partner, so God bless you, John, for your 44 years of service to the Personnel Commission. Dr. Jackson, please share with us.
Good evening, Board President Williams, members of the board, Dr. Tarosian, cabinet, and our community. But most importantly, the man of the hour, Mr. John Carlson. I'll be one of a few speakers this evening here honoring you. We promised we try to keep it short. We'll see how that goes. It is my honor to introduce Mr. John Carlson, our Personnel Commissioner, retiring after 44 years of service to the Monrovia Unified School District. I had the distinct pleasure of meeting John in 2004 upon my arrival as the Dean of Students at Monrovia High School. So I've known John for a little while. And what a first impression John made. It has been said that life is a first impression. You only get one shot. Make it everlasting. John's first impression has been truly everlasting. He's everything he represented on that first day. He has demonstrated a passion and commitment to our classified staff members. He has dedicated himself to maintaining high expectations for the merit system. A merit system dedication to maintaining a system that provides for the selection and retention of employees, promotional opportunities, in-service training on the basis of merit and fitness for the job. He has been accessible no matter the time of day or the issue at hand, right? Fellow personnel commissioners? Phone, email, and even a few text messages. He's humble, yet he's thoughtful. Above all, he has loved serving on behalf of the students that we educate daily. I could say much more, but I will defer to his colleagues, his personnel commissioners, the Board of Education, the president of CSEA, who are here to say a few words on his behalf. So with that said, John, I want to personally thank you for the many conversations, the guidance, and the support you have provided to assist with the progress that we have made over these years. Thank you. Okay, you stay seated. Okay. Come on. Jeannie and Lupe are our personnel commissioners here that have served with John.
Good evening, all. John is a very special man, and I can attest to that. He has dedicated many years, and I have a few facts here that I'd like to remind him of and share with you. No, John, you're not in trouble. John, John was born and raised in Southern California. He attended Monrovia schools and did as his two children and wife, Rosalie, who are here this evening, his family, and joining in this celebration. Back there. Well, having retired from Caltech, JPL, and Human Resource Manager, John brought with him 30 years of tremendous knowledge and experience in the area of recruiting and employee relations. His 30-year career in human resource also included Parsons Engineering in Pasadena and Vice President of Human Resources of Lloyds Bank of California. I think that's aging you, John. John Carlson has defined the role of Personnel Commissioner in Monrovia Unified School District. John, or as we know him, Mr. Personnel Commission, not only has worked a lifetime of 44 years serving classified employees of Monrovia Unified School District who support their students, but he also brought with him experience in human resource, knowledge of community, compassion for the employees, and a great deal of wisdom. Over the years, John has worked with many personnel commissioners, including Larry Pollard, Sandy Hollifield, Winnie Griffin, Larry Golar. Remember those people? And most recently, Jeannie Tyler and myself, Loopy Davis, as of 2001. When Jeannie and I joined the commission in 2001, he already had 25 years of experience to bring to the group, which helped mentor us in our new roles. And boy, did we count on his knowledge. Yes. John especially enjoyed the site visitations, meeting with the principals, and conducting meetings with classified employees, as he had so much knowledge of the district and how it had evolved over the years. He always had a historical perspective and whatever was occurring at the sites. He listened to employees and always took them seriously. John has always been a level-headed, resourceful, and knowledgeable commissioner. When there were legal questions about rules and regulations, he would know the answer, or if he didn't, he would know where to find it. John has been a rock in the commission and will be sorely missed, particularly by us, the current Personnel Commission. John, we will miss you, but we know we will continue to see you. We wish him well in his retirement and hope that he does fully retire and enjoy his life. And from the bottom of our hearts, John, we thank you for your years of service.
Okay, so now the good stuff. No, I just want to say that it has been such, it's difficult for me to put into words, John, how much we are going to miss your presence up here with us. But as I told you today, you're only changing your seat. So we expect to see you as one of our only people that come to our audience. Looks nothing like this, folks, okay? But I just want to say that your dedication, not only to all of the people within this district, but just your compassion and the way that I see how open you are with everyone that you meet, I just am so in awe of you. And I thank you, because it's been a pleasure to work with you and see you. Now I got to put on my eyeballs because I need to read the plaque. So we are giving this to you as a passage of time for all the time spent with us, and it says, to John Carlson, in sincere gratitude for your assistance, guidance, and outstanding leadership that you've provided to the Monrovia Unified School District for so many years. So this is not goodbye. This is until we see you again, okay? All right, thank you very much for all your service. I'm gonna hand this to you. Yes. All right, so I'm moving on. Okay.
Mr. John Carlson, my dear friend, you are the epitome of leadership, and not only dictated by your longevity, but the audacity to hang around despite your health transitions. I always looked up to you. I appreciate you being my prayer partner, and you're just a good person. And I want to just cut it short because I can say more about you, but may God bless you forever. On behalf of the governing board of the Monrovia Unified School District, Mr. John Carlson, congratulations for your 44 years of unparalleled commitment and service. You are truly a magnificent individual. And your family should know that, I'm sure.
Lori Schlager speaking on behalf of CSCA, who also serves as the president of CSCA.
First, I'd like to say thank you to John. It was very sweet that you pushed your time back of celebration so my daughter could have her own Teacher of the Year. That's what kind of guy this guy is. So it was very, very sweet that you did that for her. Plus, it gave me a little time to go have dinner with her. Anyways, CSA would just like to say thank you very much for all your service, everything that you do for classified. It's always meant so much to us that you be around all you guys coming around, showing your faces, and I promise I'll try to come to some meetings. So I'll sit with him and we'll have 2 people in. Anyways, on behalf of CSCA, we want to say thank you. And I hope you have a good retirement and enjoy life.
Anybody who knows John knows that there is wisdom in his words and always a twinkle in his eye. And that's how I first met John 6 years ago when I became the superintendent. And we worked together, and you mentored me in that role in helping us transition through a couple of things. And I want to tell you how much I appreciate you, how much we'll miss you on that side of the dais, and how much I hope you enjoy your time with your family. I know that you're thinking about going to Hawaii, Alaska, lots of things planned, and I know that you deserve not only that, but more, John. Congratulations on all you've done on behalf of a grateful district. Thank you.
Gather myself a little bit. You know, I was called 44 years ago by someone, I forget his name, who said they'd heard that I lived in Monrovia. There was an opening for a personnel commissioner, and since I was in personnel at Caltech and JPL, they would like to talk to me about it. So I came in and interviewed, and the rest is history. I'm just, it's hard to describe. I wanted to get back to the district. I was born in East LA, born in Southern California. And then at 6 years old, we came to live in Monrovia. And I went to Santa Fe. That was a grade school then. And then we transferred we moved up to the Mayflower School District and went through Mayflower, graduated from Mayflower, and then went to Clifton. And then went to Monrovia High School. So I went through the whole school system here. I'm thankful for the kind of education that I got here. And it prepared me for college and for my career. And I wanted to give back to this district. And over the last 44 years, wow, makes me feel as old as a Methuselah here. 44 years. It was a privilege to give back to this district what it gave to me in fine education. Working with these wonderful people, the board, Dr. Thurosian, has been just a wonderful experience I'll never forget. It's hard to describe how I feel right now. It's just wow. You guys are special. You always will hold a special place in my heart. And you'll see me around. I'll come in and sit in on these meetings, and I'll enjoy. Guys and gals, thank you. It's just been, again, a wonderful experience, and thank you for all the accolades, and I appreciate you all. Love you all very much. Thank you.
Great seeing you. Mom? That was too good. Oh boy. Oh.
I think it's a great idea. Just keep moving her around for about 30 seconds.
That's a 10. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a 5-minute break to allow John to walk out gracefully. Take your time, John. You're Rob. Okay. He got me. We got a picture of it, too. You see his Lord. Oh, that's it. Oh, perfect. You already got it? You already got it, Ham? Yeah. I don't know. He said that or something. I'll tell you, Rob. Okay, here. Watch. It's all. Oh, gosh. You know, whew, it's the little things. Oh, my God. Ham. I'll send that to you. I'd like to have that. It's too bad it wasn't a video. I thought about that after. Yeah, it's okay. Right? So, when I was a solid plan from beginning to end. He walks over and sits down, right? So that's a lot. Oh, Ed, you should have seen him. He sits down. I thought he was going to bump his chin. Yeah, I got to find him. Sit down. I didn't think you'd suspect anything. No. I say, Ham, you haven't lost it. You have not lost it, Mr. Hammond. I mean, Okay, John Carlson has left the building. He has left the boardroom, as you said, Mr. Gilliland. Moving forward, we will entertain the board report, starting with Mr. Hammond.
Thank you, President Williams. Tomorrow evening, there's going to be a very important meeting here in this building at 6 p.m. regarding the upcoming sex education classes that we are mandated, we currently teach, but the rules have changed. You're going to be hearing an update later on in the meeting, but I wanted to make one more announcement for any parent who is interested in attending. We'll be here tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Thank you.
Mr. Wong?
Yes, thank you. I was fortunate enough to be able to attend an international principals conference with the principal, Dr. G from Plymouth and Dr. Z from Santa Fe, along with our CBO, Connie Wu, in Jiangsu Province, China. And this trip, which was sponsored by them, and so they paid for our hotel and our conference and our food, really had two big functions to it. One is that our Mandarin, dual immersion Mandarin program is becoming a cornerstone program. And as our kids are going through Plymouth, they're going to go then to Santa Fe. And we have found in the past that having the principals go and experience what it is and how those students go through school is very beneficial for us and for us to get the culture of how things go. And I think that's been a big part on why our program has been growing. The other part was more of a business part of it, which is to expand our F1 program. And this is a program in which students from China come to the United States for a year as they prepare for college. And we help them get acclimated to what life in the United States is like. And this is a program that just 10 students, the net is about $130,000 to positive to this district. So this is not a small amount of money that we're talking about. And in this trip, we were able to get a confirmation from the Department of Education of Jiangsu that they are fully behind this program. And although I'm sure many of you have never heard of this province, it's a tiny little province of 68 million people. It's about a third of the size of California. So twice our population, give or take. We are one of the only high schools, school districts, that has been endorsed by them. So this is why we were at their conference. Both principals and myself were on panels and also giving, we gave a TV interview along with some other presentations, primarily on what the F1 program looks like and the benefits for their students. And here's a picture, for example, where they had allowed us to speak to 48 of their existing international students. This is at one high school. This one particular high school has 15,000 students. It's on 3 campuses, 15,000 students. During this trip, we were able to go and visit 11 different schools. The average class size, 50 students. So their population situation, as I mentioned, is a little bit larger than ours. But the key to visiting these schools, in addition to just understanding the differences, you might be surprised that there's far more similarities than there are differences. Not only in the schools, but in the students and the teachers, attitudes in general. They're far more similar than different. The end result, though, is we ended up with 5 MOUs, Memorandums of Understanding, to work specifically on promoting our F1 program. So these were pretty, this was a fantastic visit, the bottom line. They really rolled out the red carpet to us, and hopefully we'll be able to do more work with them. Typically, the point in time is now when students start looking to figure out where they're going to go to their next year and for college from now until April. So hopefully we'll have a lot more dialogue to fill our handful of seats that we have. But it was a great trip. Thank you.
Just to piggyback on what Mr. Wong said, I'd like to personally thank our Assistant Superintendent of Business Services, Ms. Connie Wu, for setting the tone. As Brian mentioned, we originated this trip in April for 8 days. Ms. Wu, Mr. Wong, myself, and a couple of others that joined us, in the likes of Mr. McGinnis as well. And we had such a great time breaking the ice and setting the tone for Brian and the teachers, the principals rather, to go and conclude. So I want to publicly say thank you, Ms. Wu, for your efforts and for setting the tone for us in April when we go out there. And like Brian said, it was humbling to see the work ethic and the rigor that they entertain on the other side. We're talking school 8 to 5, go home, take a break, study 7. And it's just, I was teasing them. I wanted all 4 of my kids, like the Three Stooges, go, you know, based on what I saw. But it would behoove me not to share that with the public and your what you've done to help cement this thing. So Mr. Wong can come back with all these MOUs. So thank you, Ms. Wu. Now, as you see on the screen here, I am standing here with the LA County Supervisor of the 5th District, Mrs. Catherine Barger, along with our wonderful superintendent and our outstanding principal at Monrovia High School. What they did was celebrate our 125 years of existence. And it started with the County of Los Angeles awarding the Monrovia Unified School District with a certificate. And it indicates, rather, 125 years of anniversary celebration of Monrovia High School with sincere congratulations and best wishes. The Board of Supervisors of the County of Los Angeles does hereby join you in your celebration. Dated November the 13th, signed by the supervisor, the chair of the supervisor, 5th District, and quite frankly, all of the LA County supervisors. In addition to that, they also awarded a certificate, thank you, Mr. Gilliland, to the of course, the high school, as I mentioned, and the first one was to the district, and some of the same language is mirrored. But I thought it was just so awesome for them to take that moment, and they had us up first. We sat up front, and she said so many wonderful things about us, and which allowed me to say something as well on behalf of the school. So thank you, Kirk McGinnis, for continuing this banner of longevity with our schools. In addition to that, I also had the opportunity to join the Monrovia Duarte Black Alumni Association in their celebration of some of our individuals here, in the likes of Miss Ann Battle and her longevity, and of course our wonderful person, Mr. Patrick Garcia. They entertained educators from both Monrovia and Duarte. The place was packed. We had such a great time. I sat next to the mayor and others, and we laughed all night and evening. So thank you to Councilman Spicer for leading this endeavor as the president. And it was just a wonderful event. So thank you all for participating. Congratulations, Ms. Battle. You're still earning awards despite your longevity. And yes, they do. You deserve that as well. That is my board report. Also like to say just thank you to the people that participated in the high schools for all the years in getting this award. I was so humble to be standing there receiving such an award from the high school. With that said, we will entertain our student board report.
Today, 2 student athletes signed their national letters of intent and will continue their journey as student athletes at the collegiate level. McKenna Ray to Cal Baptist University and Kate Wiesner to Pennsylvania State University. Both these young ladies will continue playing Division I soccer. ASB is planning a night spirit rally with Doherty High School named Battle of the 626. This will be hosted in the Event Center at MHS December 7th from 7 to 9.
Thank you. Dr. Terosian?
Thank you, President Williams, members of the board. I thought you'd enjoy seeing a picture of the playground structure that we have at Monroe Elementary School. This is the new structure that we were able to put into place. It's up to all the newest codes and paid out of developer fees. Kids are enjoying it. Also, as we look at the California School Boards Association Conference, which we'll be attending, we are presenting in 3 different times. The first is with Board President Williams and Dr. Catherine Real and Dr. Eric Rapatoy from Citrus about our early college program. I'll be on a panel through VMA Communications about crises and how to manage crises. And Mr. Tom McFadden will be at a table presenting on Friday morning about our expanded learning program. So we will be well represented during the California School Boards Association. Finally, I'd like to invite everybody to go see Annie at the Taylor Performing Arts Center, December 7th, 8th, and 9th. This is certain to be a wonderful, wonderful performance. This will be the 12th performance from our community group, and they have never disappointed.
Thank you, Dr. Terosian. We're at the point of our public comments where the Board of Education encourages public participation and invites you to share your views on any school business. Ms. Huff, do we have any public comments for items not on the agenda?
There are none.
Ms. Huff, do we have public comments for items on the open session agenda?
Board President, there is one, but you would like to entertain it at the time that comes up on the agenda.
Okay, is that a particular item that I need to be prepared for as she entertained? It's not important. Move forward. Thank you for that, Ms. Huff. Informational reports and presentations, starting with Dr. Kaiser.
Good evening, Board President Williams, Board, Dr. Terosian, and Cabinet. Tonight, I would like to introduce to you Mrs. Tanya Moore. Please join me at the podium. Mrs. Tanya Moore has come to share with us some information on the Healthy Youth Act, which is the legislation which legislates the new sex ed regulations that we will be entertaining. So with no further ado.
Thank you. Good evening, board, community members. My name is Tanya Moore, and I actually come from the Los Angeles County Office of Education, and I'm the coordinator for physical education and comprehensive health. And we're gonna just give a really brief overview of the latest and greatest of the California Healthy Youth Act. So the changes went into effect January 1st, 2016. We were supposed to be implementing the new California Healthy Youth Act. And many school districts across California were non-compliant. And it wasn't that Monrovia was on the naughty list or that any school districts were on the naughty list. None of the curricula choices were considered compliant. So when the law passed, none of the curricula options were compliant. So with that being said, there was a work group that came together and really went through the law with a fine-tooth comb to establish what needed to happen and to go through changes and modifications so that each curriculum choice out there was considered compliant. So just to, this is the must-haves. These are the must-haves of the law. Whether you teach it in middle school, 7th grade, 8th grade, and in high school, whether you teach it in 9th grade or 10th grade, whatever it may be, you still have to follow the law. First and foremost, you have to be age appropriate. And when I work with your teachers and when I work with your administrators, I say the same thing. Stick to the binder, stick to the curriculum. That's how we know it's age appropriate. You guys have chosen a curriculum that is considered compliant. on the list. So stick to the curriculum, and we know it's age appropriate. Next, it has to be considered medically accurate. And at the bottom of this slide, it says section 51933. That is the section of the Ed Code of the California Healthy Youth Act that all these points are being met. Next, it has to be appropriate for all races, genders, sexual orientations, ethnic and cultural backgrounds, and students with disabilities, as well as ELLs. So this is where the ACLU came involved. So like I said, all the curricular choices had to be modified because they were considered non-compliant, especially with this bullet. The examples that students were given, it typically was considered a married white couple. So everything had to be modified. Next, we have to make sure that materials and instruction are available for English learners. Next, we cannot reflect or promote any bias. This is a very challenging thing for teachers when they're presenting the material, and after we go through this extensive training, there really is a sigh of relief and anxiety released by the teachers, because when they see that bullet, we as educators are not allowed to promote our own bias. Next, we have to affirmatively recognize that people have different sexual orientation and include examples. Once again, this is another part of the curriculum that had to be modified. We have to teach about gender, gender expression, gender identity, and the harm of negative stereotypes. This third bullet, I think, is really important, that we need to be super transparent with parents, is the law says we have to encourage communication with trusted adults. Every single lesson ends with, please go home and talk to a trusted adult. Every single lesson. We also have to talk about the value of committed relationships, such as marriage. And the question always comes back, what does a middle school student, what does a high school student know about committed relationships? And the answer is always, they know what they know in that moment of a committed relationship. The next bullet is decision-making, negotiation skills, and refusal skills. We could teach these students all the knowledge, but without teaching them decision-making, refusal skills, and negotiation skills, the information is useless. Next, once again, we cannot teach or promote any religious doctrine. It's listed in the Ed Code again. So it's very important that we make it, that distinction. This slide basically used to be what we had to teach. That's why it's called comprehensive sexual health education. We don't even call it sex ed anymore. It's comprehensive sexual health education. This slide used to be the only requirements. That's how comprehensive and how many changes have come to board. So we have to talk about the nature of HIV and other STIs and the effect on the human body still. We have to talk about the manner in which HIV and other STIs are transmitted and are not. And lastly, we have to talk about how abstinence from sexual activity and injection drug use is the only way 100% that we can ensure that we will have no STIs and no unintended pregnancy. And then we have information on the effectiveness of all FDA-approved methods that prevent or reduce the risk of contracting STIs or HIV. We have to provide every FDA-approved option, including PrEP and PEP. PrEP is pre-exposure prophylaxis. PEP is post-exposure prophylaxis. So PrEP, pre-exposure. If my partner is HIV positive, if I take this medical regimen, I will not be exposed to HIV. Post-exposure is if someone was raped, pricked by a needle, or something of that sort. We also have to talk about, and the law says, we have to talk about the effectiveness. If we decrease the use of needle use, let me rephrase, the effectiveness of decreasing needle use and needle sharing eliminates our likelihood of contracting an STI or HIV. Next, we have to talk about the treatment of HIV and STIs, including how antiretroviral therapy can prolong your life. And lastly, we have to talk about the societal views of HIV and AIDS. And that has a lot to do with the previous bullet. Historically, if you had HIV or AIDS, it was a death sentence. And now we have to educate how important it is to seek medical care, and it can prolong your life. That is the must-haves, the legal must-haves of the California Healthy Youth Act. Any major concerns?
Questions or comments?
If you could, please touch on the one aspect for parents, or what was that third line? There was guardians, parents, and
trusted adults.
Trusted adult.
Yes, sir.
That they can opt out of all of this or opt out of parts of this.
Yes, sir. So with the new law, there's something called passive consent. So the letter goes home informing you that your child is going to take part of California Healthy Youth Act on what dates, and if you choose to opt your child out of part or all of the curriculum, you may do so. There is no judgment, there is no grades, there is no repercussion or consequences if you choose to opt your child out. You can opt out of part or all of the curriculum. If you choose to opt your child out of LGBTQ content only, then you need to opt out of all of it, because that is something that's supposed to be infused throughout the entire curriculum. Does that help?
Thank you. And one other part, for parents whose child is opted out, what do they get for the hour of instruction when this is going on in one classroom? What do they get for their science enrichment?
That is a local decision. There has to be an alternative assignment that has nothing to do with the California Healthy Youth Act.
And so I guess this, when we go into Dr. Kaiser, is what we have looked at in this district is offering another science class, because this is done during science. So it would be our science teachers in the grades that have been spoken about, and we would offer another science alternative.
We would offer an enrichment course. This course lasts 13 class periods. And so children who have been opted out would be with a teacher doing an enrichment course that is something to do with science that's standards aligned for 13 class periods.
Thank you. And it's all geared to be happening in May, I believe. Is that correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
Forgive me. Any additional questions?
Oh, for anybody who would like to have more information, there will be a whole meeting tomorrow night, starting, that's what I spoke about earlier when, in the earliest part of the meeting, is tomorrow evening here at 6 p.m. There will also be another follow-up meeting to that on the
November 26th at 6 p.m. And that will be an overview of the curriculum. And Ms. Moore from the county will be conducting both of those meetings.
And I know that when we do adopt, or when we adopt the curriculum and we adopt the books for that, those books will be on display for public review. I encourage everyone who has a question that wants to look at those books to please come in and take a look at the book that your child will be receiving for this education. Thank you.
Excellent information on behalf of the California Health Youth Act, so thank you for that. Dr. Kaiser, will you lead us in the dual immersion program enrollment recommendations, please?
Yes, thank you. I am pleased to come and speak to you tonight about the dual immersion programs, and we are looking at some enrollment recommendations. So for our dual immersion programs, I want to start with our mission of these programs. We have several programs in the district, the Mandarin program at Plymouth And we have the dual program for Spanish at Monroe, and we're looking at expanding that to Wild Rose. We have the dual program at Clifton that will be going to the high school next year. And in a couple of years, we're looking at the potential of Santa Fe for our Mandarin program as that matriculates up. So the mission for all of these programs is to ensure that dual immersion students attain biliteracy. That means not just bilingualism, but biliteracy, being able to read, write, speak, and listen in both languages, that they value diversity and develop cross-cultural competencies. And I think that Mr. Wong spoke elegantly tonight of how some of that cross-cultural competency happens even with the travel that's been occurring. Our purpose is to develop a comprehensive master plan that considers 7 guiding principles of dual immersion programs at the elementary, middle, and high school levels. And what's important about this second bullet is that as we develop these programs, they're not just developed with a whim and a prayer, but they are developed through a foundation of guiding principles that provides our structure. Our state superintendent has developed an initiative called Global California 2030. The state superintendent released this Global 2030 in May of 2018. And what his proposal is that half of all K-12 students will participate in dual immersion programs by that year. That's only 11 years away. And so this really puts Monrovia in a position where we are making great headway toward bilingualism and biliterate initiatives in our very district. By the year 2030, the goal is to triple the number of the seal of biliteracies that are given at high school. And the number of dual immersion programs, he's hoping will quadruple by 2030. So again, our expansion of our dual programs is helping us to be better in line with these goals. So, enrollment recommendation, we're recommending that we add dual language immersion program at Wild Rose School of the Creative Arts, and that we add a TK in kindergarten to the dual language immersion classes at Wild Rose, and we would have 1 teacher with a B-clad credential and 1 instructional assistant per class at the TK and kindergarten level starting next year. And this would do 2 things. It would start another program in our district, and it will also help to alleviate the overcrowding that we're experiencing at Monroe right now. So the boundary recommendations, we had a group meet and talk about how do we decide who goes to what school? And so the homeschool flow into the Spanish dual language immersion programs would be if the student's school of residence is Brad Oaks, Wild Rose, and half of Plymouth, then the students would enroll at Wild Rose. If the student's school of residence is Mayflower, Monroe, or the other half of Plymouth, then the student would enroll at Monroe. We also have guidelines in our board administrative regulations regarding situations such as siblings. So if there is a child that's attending Monroe who has a sibling that's coming up that lives in the Wild Rose neighborhood, they would be grandfathered into Monroe. This is a postcard that we have ready to publish and to send out that advertises our program, the expanding program at Wild Rose School of Creative Arts. And these are some dates that have been selected for an orientation for the community and then tour dates. And the school is busy right now setting up a classroom as a model classroom, what it would look like when parents enroll their child in this program. Are there any questions?
Or comments?
Just one. It's a point of clarification because we've been talking about decreasing enrollment now for the last 3 years. And then when we use the word overcrowding, it seems to be they don't marry. So if you can explain the dichotomy between the overcrowding in one school and the decreasing enrollment in the district.
Well, there's a couple of things that have happened. At Monroe, the popularity of the dual immersion program has been very, very popular. And so at Monroe, it's our largest elementary school right now, and we are literally running out of room. And at the same time, Wild Rose has been declining in enrollment, with the number of families that have left Monrovia because of housing prices or moving because of jobs. A lot of that has happened at the Wild Rose campus. And so we're looking at it in terms of a way of bolstering the enrollment. The other thing that we're noticing is that in our dual programs, we have a number of students who have transferred into our district on inter-district transfers. And so this is another program that attracts people and retains people to this community. So yes, Wild Rose has declined a little bit. Monroe has expanded. They're plumb out of room. And so there seems to be the need to begin a new program. We have the same phenomena beginning at Plymouth, where it was a school that was in declining enrollment for many years. With the advent of placing the transitional kindergarten classes at Plymouth and then the Mandarin program, we're beginning to see an upswing in their enrollment also.
Thank you.
President Williams, I have a question. I think Mr. Rich, though, also has a question. I yield the floor, sir. This one is directed to Dr. Jackson as well as to Dr. Kaiser. In terms of the staffing, I know that you were speaking in kind of generalities. Is it simply the same ratio of teacher and aide as it is in all our other classrooms?
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kaiser. Moving forward with our consent agenda, which consists of 18 routine items of business, and which I would like to entertain in one motion.
Move consent.
Thank you, Mr. Hammond.
Second.
Ms. Huff?
Board Member Wong?
Yes.
Board Member Hammond?
Yes.
Board Member Gilliland?
Yes.
Board Member Rich?
Yes.
Board President Williams?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you, Ms. Huff. Dr. Kaiser, you have a few items to discuss, which includes your extended field trip.
Okay, we'll begin tonight with the extended field trip. The Board of Education is requested to approve an extended field trip for Monrovia High School's boys varsity soccer team to participate in the 2017 Cats and Hounds soccer tournament in Paso Robles from November 30th to December 2nd.
Is it really 2017?
It's 2018.
Then I'll move it, as long as it's in the present, not the past.
It's 2018.
Okay.
I'll second.
Ms. Huff?
Board Member Hammond?
Yes.
Board Member Gilliland?
Yes.
Board Member Rich?
Yes.
Board Member Wong?
Yes.
Board President Williams?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Dr. Kaiser, your courses of offering?
Yes, we are requesting, the Board of Education has requested to approve the Introduction to Cultural Anthropology as a new course offering for high school students.
Questions or comments?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Huff?
Board Member Gilliland?
Yes.
Board Member Rich?
Yes.
Board Member Wong?
Yes.
Board Member...
Yes.
Thank you. Board President Williams?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you, Ms. Huff. Public review of recommended textbooks. Dr. Kaiser?
The Board of Education is requested to accept for public review prior to adoption the following textbook for the early college course, Introduction to Cultural Anthropology, a Toolkit for the Global Age.
Questions or comments?
I just want to comment, here again, we're adding more of these college courses for dual enrollment and giving more and more opportunities for our student to earn college credit. It's always good to have the textbook to go along with the course we just approved. So I hope everybody that is interested in that might want to review this, understand that these books are available at the district office for review if you would like to look at that course textbook.
Questions or comments in addition?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Huff?
Board Member Rich?
Yes.
Board Member Wong?
Yes.
Board Member Hammond?
Yes.
Board Member Gilliland?
Yes.
Board President Williams?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you, Ms. Huff. Lastly, new course offerings for our high school, Dr. Kaiser?
Yes, the Board of Education is requested to approve Art History and Appreciation, Renaissance to Rococo as a new course offering for high school students.
Questions or comments for Dr. Kaiser?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Huff?
Board Member Wong.
Yes.
Board Member Hammond.
Yes.
Board Member Gilliland.
Yes.
Board Member Rich.
Yes.
Board President Williams.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Ms. Wu, Monrovia High School field turf replacement.
Do you want me to go first? Yeah, let me go first.
Rich, you're going to go first?
President Williams, I need to amend this agenda item, and then we can entertain a motion, we can have discussion, but what we need to do, we've had several meetings on this field turf replacement, and the short of it is, we need to remove the section for Byram Davy contractors to replace the field boxes, which is $78,250. We need to remove that at this point. The long of it is, we've had many discussions. I've had several meetings. Mr. Martinez, Mr. Puvakan, and I have had meetings. We met with the architect / contractor on the field a few weeks ago. And when we showed him the boxes that his electrical contractor had supposedly looked at prior to Mr. Martinez coming on board and us having a meeting out there, he looked at the boxes and agreed that they need a lot of work. So they actually were unwilling to do work on the boxes, the cable boxes in particular, unless we ripped it all out and started over. So they're not even willing to do the work in part. What we need to do is move the irrigation boxes next to the electrical boxes, cover that area with track surface, as we all know. But we need to speak to other contractors and architects to have their input and see what their costs are. It's not just a cost factor, it's a safety factor. There's a fall zone outside the field of play. There is also electrical that is improperly installed. And we don't know how it was signed off on by DSA 7 years ago, but it was. So that needs to be corrected. We need to speak with other people to get other input, to make sure we're doing it the right way, the most cost-effective way for safety reasons. So let's pull that piece out of it so we can move forward with the turf and everything that goes along with that and the track. But we need to quickly move on the boxes so we can integrate that into the scope of work to be done, when the replacement takes place. But we have to explore that. And if we pull that out of here and we decide to move forward with the turf replacement motion, we'll still be okay to look at the boxes later. So I just want to remove that.
The question that brings to my mind, Mr. Rich, is that if we approve this contract for the replacement of the field turf, which thank God we're finally getting a chance to do that.
Right.
But if we approve that tonight and it comes down that ultimately we're going to spend $250,000 on these boxes, what does that do to this contract? I mean, do we really have a reasonable idea what the scope of the costs of those boxes is going to be in the end?
We only have one firm's input, and that's the $78,250.
We're sure it won't cost us more than the $78,000 that was proposed here.
We don't know. And what we still need information on is, do we really need to move those? The irrigation boxes probably, because they're a little too close to the new soccer lines that are going to go out. The cable boxes, possibly not. They don't need to be moved. But to move forward with the turf, even if we didn't move those boxes, the turf could still be installed.
Okay.
And leave the boxes where they are,
Okay.
if the district decided to do so.
Because we're not looking to actually do the turf till summer.
Exactly.
Right, so,
you have
we do
time.
have time
Exactly.
to take a look at this.
And it should not affect the order of the turf. What the semi-urgency is to get ourselves in line with an order for the turf. We know we're going to replace it. We need to get in line with an order so that we can get an install date on the calendar of the contractor for field turf to get it done when we want it done. If we continue to wait another month or two, may not be able to
We get
install it until the next summer.
Yeah.
So it shouldn't affect the order, even if we don't do anything with the boxes.
Any additional questions regarding the following amendments before Ms. Wu speaks?
The only thing is on this, I want to make sure that when we do the installation, that the installation is coincided with the work on the cell tower. So you don't have two dates and two different times for construction. They're all done in disruptive all at once. Okay?
Ms. Wu?
Yeah.
One addition to that, but before we schedule that, we need to make sure with both the cell tower and the football turf people that that in itself won't be a problem.
Right.
Because they might both need the same prep area.
Yeah.
So just.
Well said.
I just
Stay in the obvious.
I
Just
want to
stay
be
in the
very
obvious.
aware that we're having two projects going in and try to get them done at the same time so there's less disruption. That's the key.
In the front also.
Yeah.
Any other comments before Ms. Wu entertains?
Anything to add? Do you have anything to add?
No. Yeah, I think you was explained.
Mr. Martinez, we covered that, I think, properly, right? We covered all the details that we need to make this change? Pretty much, or are we good? Okay. And I just want to say, I mean, I won't be here when you guys vote on that, but I'm happy to if the board decides.
Sure you will, Chris.
I was about ready to make a motion on that part right now.
Because I've been involved and started with this, if the board decides they would like me to, I will be happy to continue to meet and provide report and discussion to you on the box replacement and whatever that entails. So,
Yes.
If we're volunteering, we'll,
So feel free to call.
we'll accept it.
He's been doing it for years. So.
All right.
Chris, you never left, so you've been doing it for years. And if you didn't know, Chris works in a capacity that allows us to use his experience for those reasons. I am excited as a play-by-play announcer for 10 years to get a new feel. And this is a dream come true for not only myself, but the board and, of course, our students at the high school. Ms. Wu?
She's good.
That's it?
All right, then I'll make the motion.
with
That we
that-
go forward with the turf and we further explore the boxes and how we're gonna deal with those.
Based on the amendments, correct. Any other comments?
Can I just see the picture of what the field's going to look like?
Oh, boy.
Yeah, they weren't attached to the agenda item, even though it said.
You're on spot, Miss Huff.
Good, but the power went on.
Why don't we ask Mr. Martinez to actually go through the presentation he's prepared for us?
You know, we're spending a lot of the public's money, and I think the public should see what it is we're spending it on.
Welcome to the podium, Mr. Martinez.
Well, thank you very much, and good evening, Board President Williams, members of the board, Superintendent Thorson, Cabinet, and members of the community. I thank you for this opportunity to present to you what we're going to be having pretty soon, hopefully right after graduation. We are planning to start this project with your blessing, of course. One thing, I hope I know how to use this for sure, but so let me just briefly walk you through the process, through the project, and it talks a little bit about the scope of work that was presented to us. Yes, there we go. So as you may know already, these are the existing conditions that we have out there at the field. Pretty unsafe. The picture speaks for itself. So basically that's it in a nutshell. What we have, what it's going to be done, like I mentioned before, it's pretty much the scope of work that's going to be happening here, along with the price, total price. Do you have any questions about this?
Proceed.
I have one question. It said back on that it says field layout to include the same markings and logos. Is that true, or are we going to change some of the marking a little bit?
We are going to change some of the market.
Okay.
That was the original quoting. After going back and forth and speaking with staff at the high school, we decided that we're gonna go with different colors and different logos. You'll see it in the next slides. I just want to mention the Cool Play. The Cool Play, it's actually great because that's gonna lower the temperature from 20 to 30 degrees, which it's a great benefit for our players out there. So that's pretty much the way it's gonna look. I mean, I'm excited. I'm speechless. Questions about that?
I just want to double check and make sure that the soccer teams have signed off and the football teams have signed off on where all the lines are going to be, because those lines look like where the old lines were, and that's not correct.
Right. So on their note, we spoke. Larry and
As long as you've done it, I understand.
Yes.
This is just a picture.
Yes, exactly.
Perfect.
It was already talked about. We were working with staff regarding expanding the soccer field and whatnot. This is the current measurements.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
And some may question why we have one size soccer field and we want to increase it. CIF allows a range of sizes. So we are at the minimum width range, and we're talking about increasing it 6 feet on each side. Yeah, which puts it a little closer to the track, a little closer to those irrigation boxes that we were talking about.
But it still leaves room to set up the sidelines on the field and not on the track, right?
Correct. But if you look at our field of play for football games in particular, because they're the most recent, the benches are set up on the track most of the time anyway, which I'm still a little concerned about that, because that's
I agree. We need
a
to
lot
look
of
at
weight.
using those pads out there that we bought for that if we're gonna.
Right.
Yeah, Ms. Martinez, I hope you received that.
Maybe something we need
That's
to
a huge complaint. Chris, you want to reiterate? Because that's a huge complaint.
There's a photo we have. It might be actually that first slide you had of the photo of the field boxes. It shows the bench sitting on the track surface. Yes, there it is.
Right.
And that's on
And I don't
occasions
mind if
too.
it's sitting there, if we use the pad that we bought to
Well,
cushion those.
It's not.
Yeah, but that picture shows it not being that way, so.
Further questions on that?
Go for it, Ms. Martinez.
So along with the contract, it was proposed that the track itself be repaired, and these are the details that are spelled out here, and you can see the cost of $21,900. First picture that I presented to you, it's obvious that that track, it's in great need of repair.
And so if that repair work's done, about how much longer will it be? I mean, how much will that extend the life of the track? Do you know? Do we have an idea?
I don't, but I can find out.
Well, from what I remember reading, it was 3 to 4 years. It would extend it until we need to look at replacing it completely.
Okay.
So the repair would extend it 3 to 4 years.
So along with that, there's a proposal to maintain after that track has been repaired and whatnot. So this is pretty much the cost, what they're going to be doing. It's a needed maintenance agreement to be able to maintain our track in a proper and safe way. You can tell I don't see the total cost there.
So that cost will be additional to what we're paying for the turf maintenance? Or is that both?
That's just for the track
Just for the
itself.
track,
Yes, yes. So again, that's the other proposal that hopefully we can move forward with, because it's very well needed. Any questions on that? And that's the end of it. In a nutshell, that's it.
Excellent presentation, sir.
Thank you.
And thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And thanks
Ed
to
made a
Board
motion.
Member Rich for getting out there and participating in those discussions and providing his expertise in the sound system and business. Thank you, Chris.
And Chris, as a witness, it was received that you knew more than the people that were there, the professionals. So thank you.
My pleasure. So Ed had a motion.
Ed, you did have a motion, sir?
I made that motion.
Ms. Huff?
Board Member Wong. Yes. Board Member Rich.
Yes.
Board Member Hammond.
Yes.
Board Member Gilliland.
Yes.
Board President Williams.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. As articulated earlier, item L6 has been pulled, and we'll move directly to Dr. Jackson regarding setting up a salary for the new classified public informant officer.
Board President Williams, the Board of Education is requested to set salary for the new classified management classification of public information officer at range 28, not 21, on the classified management salary schedule.
Questions or comments for Dr. Jackson?
So moved.
Ms. Huff?
Board Member Rich.
Yes.
Board Member Hammond.
Yes.
Board Member Gilliland.
Yes.
Board Member Wong.
Yes.
Board President Williams.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you, Ms. Huff. I understand that we need to entertain a public comment for item 8, the creation of the new classified position at the Playground 8.
That's correct. Board President Williams.
You may
Chris-
come so at this time, please.
Good evening, Board. My name is Krista. I currently work at Red Oaks Elementary School as a playground aide. I think our just major concern was considering the fact that we're basically starting all over. So I think our concern was, why did we have to all be terminated in order to reinstate this new law? So in compliance with that, we all understand that there's laws to be followed, and so basically with like the testing and re-interviewing, bless you, and all that, we're just kind of concerned about what the next step for us would be. That's all.
That's it?
That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Jackson, has this, do we have a game plan and to make sure that all the existing staff understands how, why, and everything that's going to be entailed?
Board Member Wong, we do have a plan. It started 2 days ago. I have scheduled appointments at each site, the 5 elementary sites and the 2 middle schools, which those are the employees that would be impacted. I've already had conversations with the playground aides at Plymouth, and I will be visiting the remaining sites once we return from the break.
Can we make sure with the principals, in case any of the aides were not available to attend, that we make sure we touch base with each person since it is going to affect them?
Indeed.
Thank you.
Dr. Jackson, can you address item 8, creation of a new classified position, please?
The Board of Education is requested to establish a new classified position. If I may, on September 18, 2018, Governor Brown signed Assembly Bill 2160 relating to playground positions, recognizing them as part of the classified service and merit districts as of January 1st, 2019.
Additional questions or comments for Dr. Jackson? Motion's on the floor.
Second.
Ms. Huff?
Board Member Hammond.
Yes.
Board Member Gilliland.
Yes.
Board Member Wong.
Yes.
Board Member Rich.
Yes.
Board President Williams.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you, Ms. Huff. Dr. Terosian, you're going to stand on behalf of the charge regarding technology?
Yes, President Williams, members of the board. The Board of Education is requested to approve the service agreement with Foresight IT Solutions to upgrade our server software infrastructure and associated services. This is Our virtual server is currently running Windows Server 2003. We're about 3 generations behind. Our hope is to bring us up to certainly far more current standards so that we can support our programs and support our students. The agenda item suggested that there would perhaps be some Microsoft funding. That was confirmed yesterday. Microsoft will be allocating $30,000 to this project, bringing the total cost of the project not to exceed $81,000.
Right, that was going to be, we were going to need to amend this item also, just cost-wise, because of the $30,000 kick-in by Microsoft. It will bring the not-to-exceed amount down to $81,650. Microsoft is good to help. I think they could have helped a little more, being that they don't support this software anymore. And you would think they would help educational institutions out a little bit. Mr. Gates could crack open his wallet just a little more, I would think, but we'll take the $30,000. So that just amends it to $81,650, not to exceed.
Is that your motion?
That is my motion. So moved.
I'll second it.
Ms. Huff?
Board Member Gilliland?
Yes.
Board Member Wong?
Yes.
Board Member Rich?
Yes.
Board Member Hammond?
Yes.
Board President Williams?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you, Ms. Huff. Consider expulsion case number 18-1902, student ID number 111111679. The expulsion case number 181902 for the 2018 school year. I have moved to expulsion case 181902, student number 111111679 from the schools in Monrovia High School District, and that the student being reinstated to a school within the district, subject to the discretion of the district. Motion's on the floor.
I'll second it, and thank you for reading that.
You're welcome, Mr. Hammond. Mr. Gilliland, forgive me. I'm gonna get you back, Rob.
Board Member Wong?
Yes.
Board Member Rich?
Yes.
Board Member Hammond?
Yes.
Board Member Gilliland?
Yes.
Board President Williams?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Dr. Kaiser, before you speak, it is always welcoming when you come back to your chair and it's lowered all the way to the floor. And so, thank you, Mr. Hammond. I wanted to say something very exciting about you, but I will reserve. The Board Policy 1250, Visitors, Outsiders, and Accompanying Administrative Regulation. Dr. Kaiser, please.
Yes, the next 2 items are 2 board agenda items that I've worked through with Board Member Hammond, and the board has received these in your Friday packet. It is a recommendation that the Board of Education is requested to receive the first reading of Board Policy 1250, Visitors, Outsiders, and Accompanying Administrative Regulation as recommended by the California School Boards Association. The rationale is that it, as part of the School Board of Education's commitment to review and update all MUSD board policies and administrative regulations, Educational Services has conducted its annual review of the department's board policies and administrative regulations and is presenting another policy for review and approval. This policy has been updated as per the California School Boards Association, CSBA, which are compared to existing policies to determine the extent of modification that is needed. The policy contains revisions as recommended by CSBA Board Policy 1250, Visitors, Outsiders, and Accompanying Administrative Regulation. The policy has been reviewed by the appropriate instructional stakeholders prior to presenting to the board review and approval. Additionally, Board Member Hammond has reviewed the board policy and accompanying administrative regulation and has made no further adjustments. And so attached are the alterations, and the alterations are the alterations in red that are all guided by Ed Code and penal codes.
Dr. Kaiser, I know this is like the last hour here, but In looking at this once again, it occurred to me that this policy says that the appeal procedure for anyone denied registration, or if their registration is revoked, is to the superintendent, and it doesn't mention any final appeal to the board. Is this a case where they cannot appeal to the board? Or is that an oversight on CSBA, which they tend to do sometimes?
This would be an oversight by CSBA, and we certainly could put that recommendation, we could uphold that recommendation here.
Could you change that then, and then bring it back on consent if everyone's okay with that? for
Absolutely,
final?
absolutely.
Policy 6153.
Is that a motion, Ed?
We wouldn't move tonight because we're not receiving, we're just receiving it for
Receiving it.
final.
You're right. You're right.
It'll be on consent next time if everybody's okay with that.
It's fine by me.
Dr. Kaiser?
Okay, this next one is another one of our board policies, and this one is Board Policy 6153, school-sponsored trips and accompanying administrative regulations. And the Board of Education is requested to receive for a first reading Board Policy 6153, school-sponsored trips and the accompanying administrative regulations. And again, the rationale is that is the commitment to review and update all policies. Educational Services has conducted its annual review of the department's board policies and administrative regulations and is presenting another policy for review and approval. The school district we've looked at this according to the CSBA, and we have compared it to the existing policy to determine the extent of modification that is needed. The policy contains the revisions recommended by CSBA in conjunction with the compilation of a field trip handbook for the board policy 6153. The field trip handbook is a new item that we have put together, and the forms are attached here for our administrators and our schools so that we can have a more seamless process in the approval of field trips and transparency and communication.
Questions or comments?
Dr. Kaiser, yeah, just, one is just for clarification more for the public. Because if you read this in detail, AR page 3, the administrative regulation, which implements the policy, that one, it says that all costs for field trips shall be charged on a per pupil basis to all participants. Costs may be defrayed through approved fundraising activities. And then it says, in 4, no student shall be denied participation in the field trip due to inability to pay. And we know that we as a district are not going to deny someone because they don't have enough money to pay for it. The question is, that's a seeming dichotomy in what it says here. We're going to charge the students, but if they can't pay it, we're not going to charge the students. So just from a practical standpoint, how does that work at the site level?
The way that it works at the site level is there are several different ways that field trips are funded. The PTA organizations do a lot of fundraising that helps to send students on field trips. There are times when donations are accepted for field trips. If any child at any time cannot pay or cannot raise the funds for a field trip, as a district, we have the obligation of picking up the funding for those students.
So expect there to be an opportunity to, somewhat of an obligation to try to raise the funds and try to get the funds from outside sources. But we're not going to let that stop any child from going on a field trip.
No, we will always provide the funding for students to go.
I just want to make sure that the public understands that. The other thing is just a really minor thing, but in looking at your field trip checklist, in light of some of the problems we've had in the past year, I wonder if it wouldn't be wise to put number 7 as number 2. Number 7 says, number 1 is you have to fill out the field trip request form, and that's the logical first step. But it seems to me right after that, we should say, hey, if you need board approval, get it right away. Get it in plenty of time.
We can certainly do
before
that.
we go into the other items of what other requirements there are. And that's a minor thing, but they're more likely to read number 2 than number 7.
We can certainly move that up.
And just as a point of clarification, students are not charged for field trips that are part of their free and public education. And so the costs, Mr. Gilliland mentioned in the administrative regulation, is just how the total cost of any field trip would be broken down, and that would be on a per-student basis. And so any kind of fundraising would be on that per-student basis, but not that students would be charged for field trips that would be part of their instruction.
Any additional questions or comments for 6153?
No, but I would ask that these, with those minor changes, be brought back as consent agenda items.
And we'll prepare these for your Friday packet, so you'll see the revisions.
Okay, everybody okay with that?
Yep. Concur. Board Policy 4033, Lactation Accommodation, Dr. Jackson.
Board President Williams, members of the board, following suit from Dr. Kaiser, we are presenting Board Policy 4033, Lactation Accommodation. The Board of Education is requested to receive the first reading of BP 4033, Lactation Accommodation, is recommended by CSBA. Board Policy 4033, Lactation Accommodation, requires the district to provide a reasonable amount of break time to an employee each time she has a need to express breast milk for her infant child. BP 4033 also requires the district to provide a private location other than a restroom in a close proximity to the employee work area for such purposes. BP 4033 prohibits discrimination, harassment, and/or retaliation against any district employee who chooses to express breast milk for her infant child while at work. As far as the background is concerned, school districts receive regular policy updates from CSBA, which are compared to existing policies to determine the extent of modification that is needed. This policy is recommended by the California School Board Association. This is a new policy, and you will recognize on the following page that all the preceding paragraphs are donated in red. This policy has been reviewed by the appropriate instructional stakeholder prior to presenting it for board review. Additionally, Board Vice President Ed Gilliland has reviewed this board policy with me.
Questions or comments regarding Board Policy 4033?
Just the same comment, and if you could bring this back on consent, I would be good with that.
Thank you, Dr. Jackson. As acknowledged earlier, Dr. Tarosin did pull item L14. With that said, I'd like to move to the superintendent employment contract. The Board of Education has requested to approve the employment contract for Dr. Catherine Tarosin for the amounts detailed in the contract effective July 1st, 2018 to June 30th, 2022. Also like to say that the contract as follows for the superintendent compensation reads: the annual salary for the 2018-19 shall be $246,443 and should be payable in 12 equal installments with any salary for services less than 1 year prorated. This reflects the policy of the governing board that the annual base salary is inclusive and of previous stipends such as the doctoral stipend, the business-related auto expenses, and other expenses of carrying out the superintendent's responsibilities. With that said, any questions or comments?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Huff.
Wait, maybe.
Mr. Hammond?
May I see this?
Absolutely.
It's something that doesn't seem right. What it doesn't include is there was a conversation of normally what would happen is that we would give the superintendent a $10,000 raise or a $10,000
Longevity.
Thank you, longevity. And that is not included in this. And we need to include that in there. That was what we discussed.
It's included in there because it's not included as a separate stipend in the rest of the contract.
It's folded into the total amount.
It's folded into the total amount.
The dollar amount at 246 was the dollar amount before the discussion happened.
But it was already folded in there, and it wasn't listed separately anywhere else.
The existing dollar amount is all in, everything combined. So what we discussed was to reduce this dollar amount and break out certain portions of it, correct?
Okay, I misunderstood. So I understand what you guys are saying. I just wanted to be sure that what we had agreed upon is reflective in that dollar amount. I was the one that was mistaken.
And there is no separate payment for longevity.
There is, this is.
Right? There is no separate provision in for anywhere for
Any other
separate
money.
payment.
That has been eliminated. There is no,
Okay.
that number is essentially what I've been receiving, and it just, everything has been
Okay.
folded into one amount.
Motion still on the floor?
There was a motion, a second already.
Ms. Huff?
Board Member Wong?
Yes.
Board Member Rich?
Yes.
Board Member Hammond?
Yes.
Board Member Gilliland?
Yes.
Board President Williams?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you, Ms. Huff. Any pending board issues, Dr. Terosian?
I would like to note that, or request that weekly updates regarding the Jessie program be suspended for the time being until we actually have updates from Jessie, and perhaps move those to more monthly updates so that we continue to communicate with the Jessie program and move forward with the efforts of Mr. Wong, Ms. Wu, Dr. Zamaripa, and Giroux. I'm simply not sure that we'll have enough information on a weekly basis.
Am I right to assume then, because this meeting went so well in Jiangsu province, that the necessary materials have been prepared? Because one of the issues that we wanted to keep track of was that the necessary materials were prepared so that we could have a good package over there for the parents and students to look at. And it appears that that's been completed, and we've got the packages, and we're ready now to.
We have all the relevant information.
Okay.
I mean, part of that trip was to fine tune it, to find out what was the most relevant information to provide. Jessie has already translated almost all of the information for us.
Great.
So for us to repackage when Jessie comes back to the US, we're gonna put together a comprehensive package, their side and our side into one big thing. We've spoken about it. We're in agreement on the stacking order, for lack of a better term, of everything that's gonna go there in the order. We just need to assemble and make sure that it's approved by the party.
Sounds like it would be appropriate to put off further updates until that point in time.
We'll provide the updates as frequently as we receive them, but it's important to keep this item on our pending issues, just to make sure that we keep track of it and continue the momentum. Also, I'd like to note that the chair of the WAS committee did an initial visit to Monrovia High School and was very impressed by the caliber of programs and people that he met. And so we're looking forward to a very good visit in March.
Thank you, Dr. Terosian. Regarding old business, our next board meeting is Wednesday the 12th at 7 p.m., the annual organizational and regular Board of Education meeting. January the 9th and the 23rd at our regular board meetings. Of course, our new business includes the 53rd Annual Community Breakfast, which is going to be on Friday the 16th. And of course, Thanksgiving break is going to be from the 19th to the 23rd, and I pray that your turkey is as tender as mine will be. And of course, the California School Board Association Annual Education Conference is in San Francisco, as mentioned earlier, on the 29th of November to the 1st of December. And of course, our City of Monrovia Holiday Parade and tree lighting ceremony on the 6th of December, and our winter break on December the 24th to the 4th. And before I adjourn, I'd like to close tonight's meeting in honor of John Jr. Beckmore. Mr. Beckmore is the father of Monrovia High School textbook clerk Tina McKendrick and the grandfather of Canyon Oaks Mountain Park assistant principal Calvin McKendrick. Mr. Beckmore passed away at the age of 89 years old and was a father of 6 children. Our prayers are with his family. Meeting is adjourned at 8:52. Good night, everybody.